Hello and welcome to our latest Hoopcast. Pat Dooley and Kevin Brockway from the Gainesville Sun. We'll talk a little bit about Florida's win over Georgia. Now they go to face another set of Bulldogs in Mississippi State. And first of all, Kevin, you were up there. I was not up there, nor did I see it since it wasn't on TV, and didn't want to stay up late for the replay once I knew who won. But it sounded like the Gators played really well.
Yeah, I would say probably their most crisp game in about a month in terms of, obviously the shooting, and that opened up the floor. They moved the ball very well. Defensively, they did a really good job helping out on Gaines, forcing him into a lot of bad shots. I thought he kind of forced a lot of things, too, in that game. And it was Georgia basically in the second half just kind of gave up a little bit. It was very strange. It was the atmosphere there was just completely blank. There were some students there that were getting on Calathis about his hair gel, but other than that, not really many fans in the stands, and I'm beginning to wonder a little bit about Dennis Felton too.
Well, just listening to the game, listening to Mick and Mark do the game, it sounded like, and they kept saying, there is no energy in this team, there is no energy in, and that's surprising to me. Not that the fans would bail on Georgia, but that the team. I mean, that Dennis Felton is such a tough guy that they would quit on him, and it seems like they have.
Well, some of the writers did talk about fatigue. Gaines has been playing a lot of minutes, and but strangely, they didn't get Billy Humphrey involved, which I thought was very strange. He had that one foul on the three-pointer, but other than that, and it seemed like in the second half, Dennis was just using a lot of young guys too. He brought that kid Troy Brewer off the bench. He started Albert Jackson, who actually did play. He played pretty well for them, but it looked like he was more experimenting than trying to win a game. It was almost like a preseason game.
Well, that's not good because and they didn't win it. But let's talk a little bit about Florida. I tell you, Robbie was mentioned to me earlier, and I said this a couple of weeks ago. Chandler Parsons is a guy that I don't know when he's going to become a great player, but I think he's going to be a great player in this league. He showed a little bit of it again the other night. I think certain teams he shines against. Georgia's obviously one of them. He lit them up last time.
Well, yeah, and Hodge got into foul trouble. He got that second foul, so he had the opportunity to come in and play, and did a really nice job. Hit a three, and then obviously Calathis had a steal off the press. He had a nice dunk. He's the kind of guy, if he gets involved early, hits some shots. Yeah. He can get going. I still think he has a little bit of issues with his ball handling a little bit, and you don't know necessarily whether to play him at the 4 or the 3 because of his size. But I think if he gets a little bit bigger, he's definitely going to help him.
Well, the thing about Parsons, Larry Shai told me he's still got a couple of inches to grow too, and if he gets bigger and stronger, he could really be a force inside. Somebody else gave me this line, so I can't use it. But when Adam Allen and Chandler Parsons coming off the bench, it's the Allen Parsons project. So.
Well, it was a foul project last night.
Yeah, well, Allen was terrible.
Had 3 fouls.
The funny thing is, he played so well the other night, and he was just awful last night. That's what happens with freshmen, I guess.
That's part of the ups and downs of it, I guess. Yeah.
Now the Gators, of course, play Mississippi State, and I wrote a column about it for Saturday's Gainesville Sun. You can read it online at Gatorsports.com. Kevin, this is a Mississippi State team. You talk about under the radar. I mean, nobody talks about them. I talked to Jay Billis about it. He goes, it's puzzling to me, too. This is a team that's clinched the West. If they win Saturday and Kentucky beats Tennessee, they're in first place in the overall SEC. They've done some really nice things. I know their pre-conference schedule, they had some trouble, but when you look at Jamont Gordon, Charles Rhodes, Bernardo, and blocking shots, is there a team that's better in the SEC?
Yeah, Bernardo leads the SEC in block shots. Jamont Gordon is one of the
toughest
player of the year candidate, one of the toughest players to guard because he's a point guard that's built like a running back. He's about 6'4", 230.
Yeah. So
he's going to present a difficult challenge for Florida on the perimeter. And now Rhodes, who's been kind of up and down throughout his whole career, is starting to develop a little bit of consistency his senior year. So this is going to be a very difficult game for Florida, just in terms of the defensive end. The one thing that ails Mississippi State is free throw shooting. They're a very poor free throw shooting team. That's how, when I went down to see them play Kentucky early in the year, that's how Kentucky got back in the game.
Right.
And I think you might see a game down the stretch where Florida stays close. Foul them on purpose, get them on the line, and try to trade some 2-for-1s.
Well, the other thing that they struggle with in SEC play, they lead the SEC in turnovers, so they've had some trouble handling the ball. I think one of the keys of this game, does Maurice Spates man up? Or as Rick Stansbury called him today, Spites. Oh, that Spites guy. That Spites and Warren, he referred to the number guy at the 4, Warren, and of course they're great freshmen. But there's no question. I mean, Spates got to man up in this game. He's got to say, hey, look, I know they're tough inside. And we saw it with LSU where he didn't, and LSU was able to kind of change the whole way they went at things.
Yeah, and he started out very poorly against Georgia, but to his defense, Georgia was packing it in. They were trying to take him and Werner away. But second half really came around, did some good things, got some offensive rebounds, defense. He's coming off 2 straight double-doubles. He had 15 and 10 last night. He had 10 and 10 against South Carolina. And, with him, it's the consistency thing.
Yeah.
It's game to game. It's almost like half to half with him. And, I kind of asked Billy that today. I said, when are you going to expect some consistency from him? And he kind of made a joke. He's like, well, I can't even expect my 5-year-old daughter to change her bed every day. You know what I mean? So
was he comparing him to a 5-year-old?
I guess so.
A little bit, yeah.
It was a little bit of a surprise, but I guess he made the analogy of youth and a young guy and it being his first year starting. So he just has to basically try to get him to grow into becoming a consistent player, and that's where he's at right now.
Well, if he figures it out with his 5-year-old daughter, tell him to give me a call, because I've got a 6-year-old. I can't get to do anything on a consistent basis. But, it'll be an interesting game. A huge game for Florida. It's funny. I'm so tired of speculating about what it's going to take for the Gators to get in. Just go out and win a couple of games and it'd be over with. But, I keep hearing 2, 3, 1, 2, how many games they got to win. The bottom line is this would be a huge win for them. Mississippi State RPI-wise is not way up there, but they're 41. It's not bad. And to win that game, I think, would make people say, hey, you know what, maybe Florida should get in.
Yeah, and, I guess it's kind of that, cliche one game at a time approach. It's the next game on the schedule. So they just have to kind of focus on that and get rolling with that and see where it leads.
And don't forget, in a couple of weeks, actually, I guess it'll be a week and a half, we'll be coming out with the top 75 SEC players of all time, 75 players, 75 years of SEC basketball, and look forward to getting that. The ballots are flowing in, and we're almost done with it. So we'll have that coming up as well as our coverage of the SEC tournament. But still, 3 more games for the Gators, Kevin. We'll be back next week with a look at, who do they play next week? Is it Tennessee? They won't be number 1, though, will they?
Yeah. No, it won't be number 1 after that game against Vandy. Nice job by Shane Foster, by the way.
Yeah, well, they're at home. He's great at home. We'll see how they do on the road. They've got a big road game against Arkansas this week as well. So it's going to be an interesting weekend in the SEC. Things will shake out a little bit. And maybe we won't have 4 teams at 4-9 anymore in the West. I've never seen anything like that. 4 teams at 4-9, tied for 3rd. I prefer to say tied for last.
Well, Florida just better hopes that they don't get LSU again in the tournament. You know what I mean? And they had a nice win against South Carolina, taking at the buzzer. So they're moving up in the standings at 4-9. They might end up 3rd in the SEC West.
They easily could. Who knows? Yeah, 3rd with 6 and 10 probably gets you 3rd, doesn't it?
Exactly.
All right, we'll see you next time. We'll talk about Florida's game against Mississippi State and also preview the Florida game against Tennessee. That's another home game.
Another quick reminder, 4 p.m. start time on Saturday. 4 o'clock.
We had an error in the paper. Those things happen, but it was 4 o'clock is the game on Saturday. So if you show up at 2, well, you'd probably be hanging around for a while.
Get some nachos and some
just sit
hot
in the
dogs.
stands.
And, just have a good
I'm
time.
actually speaking to the Gator Tip-Off Club. You can come watch that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's going to do it. We'll see you next time. Kevin Brockway, Pat Dooley saying so long from the Sunshine State.